everyone. Welcome to Know Your Rights with me, Ambika Hiranandani. I'll be bringing you this series in collaboration with my friends at Shebang for Good. The point to Know Your Rights is to explain to all of us what our legal rights are and some of the situations that we face in life. Today, we're going to be discussing the rights of stray dogs and the rights of those people who care for stray dogs. What happens is we see dogs out on the street, and then these dogs go from the street into building compounds because there's a compassionate watchman, there's somebody who lives on the third floor who feeds these dogs. They find shelter in the lobby, and in turn, for whatever we give them, they give us loyalty, love. They protect our building compounds from intruders in the middle of the night. If they hear something, they alert us. These animals become a part of our colonies. And then what happens is sometimes there are issues that neighbors have, that people have with these animals. And so all we wanted to do today was bring on a guest, bring on an expert who has done many cases in taking care of the rights of these animals in the cooperative housing societies and explain to us all what we can do to take care of our colony animals. Welcome, Meet. Meet is a good friend of mine. Meet is works with the cruelty response team at PETA, and he has handled many cooperative housing society cases in which the safety of stray animals has been compromised. Thank you so much for joining us today, Meet.
Thank you, Ambika, for having me.
So, Meet, I like to begin with the first question, which is what can we do to take care of these colony animals?
So basically, one, people should feed them responsibly as and when they can. It's not that they have to be regular, they have to feed them every day. More than that, also being a responsible feeder entails their sterilization, their vaccination. Uh, Most of the local body, that is the local municipal corporations, have an ongoing sterilization program. So getting in touch with your municipal corporation, ensuring that the animals, the community dogs or cats that you're feeding are sterilized, are vaccinated so that they are also healthy and they don't possess a threat to anyone else in terms of any health risks, etc.
Right. So, Meet, what you're saying is that basically we should feed the stray animals around us who we take care of or who live in our colonies. We should sterilize them and we should vaccinate them.
Yes, and especially during summer, we must put out water bowls for them because it's really hot. Even now, it's quite hot. Just the past few days, we have been having rains, but otherwise, it's been quite hot. So, putting out water bowls for them strategically in places where they can come and have water, and it would not bother people as well. And then, obviously, cleaning and putting fresh water every day so that mosquitoes don't breed in them and cause trouble to anyone. So whatever we do, I'm saying, has to be in a balanced way where we take care of animals, but we also make sure that people are not put at any discomfort,
Right.
and so that they don't get a chance to complain or crib about it.
So, Meet, now what if there's an incident in which the members of my cooperative housing society suddenly turn around and tell me, hey, Ambika, you can't feed animals anymore. What should I do?
That's completely illegal. No housing society has the authority under law to make any such rule or law because they are not a lawmaking body. They simply have or they simply can, basically frame rules or bylaws in complete, sync or in complete coordination with the existing laws of the country and the rules and regulations passed by either the central government or orders issued by the Honorable High Court. Coming to feeding of community animals, the Animal Welfare Board of India's circular and the Delhi High Court order is absolutely clear that no individual, no housing society, nor no RWA can stop any person from responsibly feeding animals. So the first thing that they should do is politely try and reason out with the person as to why or what is the problem that this person has. Why are they asking this person to stop feeding animals? In case the person is being unreasonable or is not understanding, which may be only in rare or exceptional cases, uh, in that case, one may have to take it up with the society managing committee, perhaps get an animal welfare officer or an animal rights organization involved who can explain to the housing society either over phone or through a meeting or through a letter or a notice that can be sent to the society which details the laws regarding feeding of community animals, and that it is not only an individual's right under their right to life under Article 21, but it is also duty of every compassionate citizen under Article 51 AG of the Constitution of India to be compassionate towards living beings, including animals. So if someone is violating that, if someone is stopping this person from responsibly discharging their duty, they are the one in violation of law, and they can be booked for criminal intimidation.
So essentially, what you're saying is no cooperative housing society can stop anyone from feeding animals within their premises of their building, right? And what you're saying is that it's my right, under my right to life, under Article 21 of the Constitution of India, and it is also my fundamental duty to be compassionate towards animals, right? So I've understood that. Then you also mentioned that there was a circular of the Animal Welfare Board of India. Could you tell us a little bit more about this circular?
So this circular is available on the Animal Welfare Board of India's website. It's www.awbi.in. This is the website. On this, if you click on the circulars tab, there you can find a circular which has been issued on the 26th of February 2015 by the then chairman of the AWBI. This clearly details as to the do's and don'ts, not only for community dogs, but also for pet dogs, as to what a society can do and cannot do. Similarly, what is it that the feeders or the caretakers or the owners of these dogs should do and should not do. So it is a very balanced circular which details, for example, it states that a housing society cannot impose a complete ban on feeding of dogs. At the same time, it also mentions that feeders must not feed dogs in areas like any area which is close to the children's park or close to the lobby, because there is a lot of people coming and going. There's a lot of footfall. Yeah, so just to avoid any possible conflict, it is better to feed obviously within the society premises, but in a relatively secluded area where there aren't a lot of people coming and going. The societies, what societies can do, they can designate a feeding area,
Right.
okay, for these dogs. Again, but that cannot be done on their own basis, depending on their own whims and fancies. They have to do it in consultation with the feeders or colony animal caretakers, because they are aware of the territory of dogs. Like if it's a huge housing society, you can't just designate one single place and say feed all 20 dogs in this one area. You have to designate feeding areas depending upon the territory of these dogs, and that is something that only the feeders generally know. So it has to be done in consultation with the feeders, and it has to be an area where one can practically go at any given point of at any given time of the day and feed there comfortably without having any threat. If it's a very dark area where women cannot go, then that cannot be a feeding area. So this is exactly why the society or the managing committee or the RWA needs to consult with the feeders when they are deciding on a feeding area.
So essentially, your advice is that first off, when you feed the animals, perhaps feed them at a time when people aren't out and about. So maybe don't feed them early in the morning when people are walking, or late in the evening when people are walking and children are playing. Perhaps feed the animals at a time when people aren't around, so as to not create any conflict. Then to feed the animals in a place that's slightly away from human traffic. If there is any disagreement between the members of the cooperative housing society, talk to the managing committee and allocate feeding spots. If the managing committee tells us that it's illegal to feed animals, we have to turn around and tell them, no, I'm sorry, what you're saying is illegal. It is my constitutional right. And furthermore, we have to pull out the notification from the Animal Welfare Board of India website, present it to them. Should that not work, then we can call an animal welfare organization, an animal welfare officer. There are multiple contacts available on Google for them to come in and help us deal with our cooperative housing society. Now, what if, and we have dealt with these cases as activists, if the society has the animals picked up, removed, and displaced in some other location? Now, we know as animal people that if one dog goes into another dog's territory, there will be a fight. They will fight with one another. People will get scared. People could get bitten, which is why we advocate so hard to people that keep the animals where they are, vaccinate them, sterilize them, love them. They will reward you for the good that you do to them with loyalty. So could you sort of advise us, what do I do in situations where my colony dogs are suddenly gone overnight?
So one, we must find out if it is the municipal corporation who has picked them up, because oftentimes it happens that people or feeders panic and then later they come to know that, oh, it's the municipal corporation who's taken them for the vaccination, or because there were some, complaints that were given by the housing society to the local municipal corporation. They have come and taken the dogs. So then they can immediately speak to the concerned veterinary officer. In case of Mumbai, Dr. Yogesh Shetty is more than reasonable and an absolutely amazing officer that people can have, who's like really sensitive towards animals and humans both. So in case dogs have been wrongly picked up or anything, they will obviously be returned back if the feeders call up the veterinary officer and speak to them and reason out with them. If it's not the municipal corporation but some private individuals who have taken the dogs away or done something nasty, which is illegal, then in that case, what my advice would be is to immediately go to the local police station without any delay, rather than trying to speak to the managing committee at that time, because if they have taken such an extreme step, they are not going to reason out with you. So rather than wasting time, and they will just try to buy time, they'll say, okay, we'll give you the footage in 2 days. Now the technician is not here. All this keeps happening all the time. So I'm giving examples to explain what I'm trying to say. So
But
instead of going to the managing committee, one must immediately go to the local police station, meet the on duty officer or the senior police inspector or the SHO of the police station, explain to them that this is what has happened, this is completely illegal, this is in clear violation not only of the Animal Birth Control Dog Rules 2001, but also of the Honorable Supreme Court's order. There is an interim order that the Honorable Supreme Court has passed in the stray dogs matter, which clearly states that the Animal Birth Control Rules and the PCA Act 1960 have to be implemented in letter and spirit both, and that there is no other innovative method that anyone can adopt to deal with the problem of stray dogs, clearly stating that relocation is not a solution and it is legally not acceptable. So, by giving reference to these two major laws which these people have violated, whoever has done this, the police will then be alerted. The police will come to the housing society. If there is a CCTV footage, they will check that to get details about what vehicle it was, what vehicle number it is, so it can kind of be traced as to who is the owner and things like that. At the same time, they will ask the managing committee, because it is extremely rare that a managing committee is not aware about the dogs living inside the society being picked up by some random individuals. That's a very, very rare case, and that generally doesn't happen. So obviously, since the police is involved, the managing committee will have to tell them what did they do with the dogs, where they have sent them, and the priority then should not be after the information is received to go and file a formal complaint, but to immediately go and get the dogs back and take those people who have gone and displaced the dogs, because they will be able to point out the exact location where they dropped the dogs. So taking those people along is very important. After that, you come back and decide whether you want to file a formal complaint, or you just want to, kind of have a very stern warning given to the society and close the matter. That's clearly up to an individual. But the first priority after getting information or leads as to where the dogs have been displaced is to get them back rather than filing a complaint, because every minute is of essence. Every minute there is a danger of them either being attacked by other dogs or being run over by vehicles or things like that.
and starvation, and starvation, because they are away from their primary food source. So if they're away for days, then you've got to run the ASAP, pick them up and try and bring them back. So you mentioned the Supreme Court judgment. I mean the interim order, sorry, could you tell us a little bit about the Supreme Court judgment, where a normal person out there on the streets who has animals, cares for them, doesn't have a law degree, wants to get out there and find this judgment? And also, could you tell us a little bit about the judgment of the Delhi High Court, which is very interesting, because that's the judgment that actually says that you need to mark a spot, and this spot needs to be marked in collaboration with the community. So could you tell us a little bit about these two?
Sure. Starting with the Honorable Supreme Court or the Apex Court's order, I'll give the reference number of the case. It is SLPC Civil 691 of 2009. Either one can download this interim order from the Supreme Court's website, or if that is a little difficult to access, which it will be for common people, then again you can go to the AWBI's website, that is www.awbi.in, and on this website there is a separate tab called Judgments/orders. If you go in that, there is you will find all the interim orders issued in the stray dog matter, for which the reference number I just gave out. So there you will find this order. This order clearly mentions that no innovative method can be adopted by any municipal corporation or by any individual to deal with the problem of stray dogs, and that stray dogs also have a right to life, and that they cannot be culled, killed, or be subjected to cruelty in any manner whatsoever, and that there is a provision clearly given under the animal birth control dog rules as to what to do if a dog has bitten an individual, or what to do if a dog is aggressive. What to do is that you report it to the local municipal corporation. The veterinary officer will send a team who will catch the dog, take the dog to a dog pound or an animal birth control center where these dogs are sterilized, keep the dog under observation for a period of 7 to 10 days. Depending on the observation recorded by the veterinarian, necessary treatment will be provided. The dog will be vaccinated for anti-rabies and be released back to the territory where he or she has been picked up from.
Right.
This is what, in short, the Supreme Court order states, that there are already enough provisions which state that how to deal if there is a problem with a dog, if there is a behavioral issue, or if the dog is biting, what one must do. Law already provides for that. So there is no reason, the Supreme Court has said, the Supreme Court has opined that there is no reason to subject dogs to cruelty, to kill them, to poison them, or to do anything cruel to them. So that has been made absolutely clear. Coming to the Delhi High Court order passed by the then Honorable Justice Jain, he clearly mentioned in his order that feeding of dogs cannot be stopped. He rather mentioned the benefits in the order as to what are the pros or what are the benefits of feeding community dogs, and how it can not only help the society, but it will also help take care of the problem of dogs. When they are hungry, there is a chance they may, chase people who are carrying a milk packet or a packet of bread or something like that. But if their stomachs are full, they are not going to bother anyone. So this is a common rationale which, unfortunately, most people, forget, or they kind of don't think about it, and when told, they don't really accept it.
People tend to forget that animals are exactly like people, right? So a dog who hasn't had food, who's been beaten, is a desperate dog. The poor thing, they're filled with fear. If you're filled with fear, you may attack. So we have to understand that the same emotions, the same parameters that apply to people apply to animals. If I look at the dogs around my building in my colony, they are all very chubby, very well fed, very happy. They only wag their tail when they see people, because they don't think that a human being can hurt them, because they've never been hurt by a human being.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ambika, but moreover, and the most important thing, people don't want dogs, but they refuse to understand that, for example, if you were to remove 5 dogs which are living in your society, that territory will go vacant. There are other dogs, newer dogs, who will come and who will make that empty territory as their own territory. So if you have dogs in your own colony, in your own area, which are well fed, which are sterilized, which are vaccinated, they will live their entire life there till their natural death. Moreover, they will make sure that there are no new dogs coming in. They will never allow a single new dog to come in that area. So that way, you will also control the population of dogs in your colony, in your area. So, this is another important thing which people don't understand, but this is like the biggest benefit. Everyone, even we as, people don't want more dogs on the road, because we know the kind of lives they live, though we take care of them in whatever best way we can. But people don't understand this thing. Coming back to Justice Jain's judgment, he had directed the Animal Welfare Board of India to make sure that every society, every colony has a designated feeding spot depending on the area, depending on how huge the housing society or the RWA is, at least one feeding spot within the premises.
Right.
Another issue, talking about why within the premises and why not outside. There are a lot of societies which say, yes, we are allowing this person to feed the dogs, but outside. You have no jurisdiction outside the society. That's a public road. That's a government property. You have no right to say that I'm allowing or we are allowing this person to feed outside the society. One must remember not only the legality, but coming back to fact, there are a set of dogs which have their own territory immediately outside the housing society.
Right.
Once you start feeding dogs outside the society, including dogs that are living inside, not only it will attract more dogs from outside to come inside the society because they know that that's where the source of food is, but there will be more and more fights between the dogs that live inside the society and that live outside, which will only increase the number of dog bites because dogs will get aggressive after fighting with each other. And only we will be to blame if we do something like that, because we are the ones who are creating the imbalance.
Right.
There is never an imbalance by default. We are creating that imbalance.
Right. So basically, so there are the two judgments. There's the judgment of the interim order of the Supreme Court. There's the Delhi High Court judgment. There are constitutional provisions. There are the birth control rules. All of these documents, everything is available on the Animal Welfare Board of India website. And so, if any of us are in a situation where we are being harassed or we're being told that we can't feed our community animals, we have to stand up and say, no, we can. Here are our laws, here are our rights, talk to the committee. If that doesn't work, if we're being intimidated, then we have to go to the police. If our dogs vanish, then we have to go to the police, seek their support with these laws, with these regulations. And hopefully we will be able to provide a better future, not just for the people, but for the animals also, because we're all in it together. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all of your insights, Meet.
Thank you.